Hey everyone, Tony here again. Wanted to bring you one of today's gainers. It's not the top gainer, but it's had a nice move. It's had almost a 10% gain for the day, which is pretty freaking nice. And it comes on news of it being a upgraded. So MKM Partners upgraded it today from neutral to a buy with a target of $45. So we're going to look at the charts and see what is how that looks. Now, okay, so now let me focus on the chart over here. So we are looking at the monthly, and as you can see, this is a brand new stock. This is a baby of a. This is a newborn stock, pretty much, because it only has its May was 2019 was what it was listed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. That's nothing. So there's no data on the monthly. There's barely data on a daily if you want to analyze. So we'll do the best that we can. On the monthly, there's really not much. You see that there's been this nice little uptrend, but look at the volume. The volume is actually downtrending. So that's kind of interesting. Let's draw a Fibonacci here so that we can see what that would look like. So we're going from approximately this low here. Oh, there we go. So we're looking at well, it's so hard because there's no RSI or stochastic information here and I only have it at a 14 period, and there's only 10 months. So that's how that works. There's not enough data for the monthly. But if we're looking at a pure RSI, Fibonacci, we're looking at a pullback which would make sense with this wick over here of $35 to 382. They're saying that a $45 target. So they're looking at it being at this peak right here. So maybe this analyst just goes, hey, this looks good. Let's see if we turn that into an extension just to see what happens. That would bring us to the 1.272 extension, which is a very common one. So I think this particular analyst just goes, hey, there's this, the opening month wick, and we have this extension, so that's going to be our target. Obviously, I'm joking. There's probably some fundamental stuff that he saw there, but or she. Let's dive into let's start off with the weekly, or move on to the weekly, I should say, because yeah, that's not enough data. So let's zoom out here. Let's turn this back into a Fibonacci. So we're looking at we have the 20, the yellow here, the 20 EMA, and well, that's not a 50, that's just another indicator that I have there. But here we're looking at, we still don't have that much information here, to be honest with you. Let me take this Fibonacci out, and you can see that we do have some volume tailing off. I wonder if we can, you know what, let me try to do this. There we go, just a little bit, so that way we can see that we have volume tailing up, but then we have price obviously heading up. So there's a little bit of a divergence there. It doesn't, it's not the end all. The Fibonacci looks like it's strong. It's an uptrend. It's got some decent structure there. If we draw some trend lines, it's pretty much respecting that. So I expect it to bounce here a little bit. Stochastic is a little bit on the, again, take this with a grain of salt, because being overbought and oversold doesn't really mean much. But they're still on the weekly. It's still got a crossover, which I don't think it has. It looks like they're basically synchronized there, and just have to cross over to the downside. So we can expect that in the next couple of weeks if it does happen. Do we have let me see if we have some levels here that we can kind of play with. This might be a horizontal. This might be a horizontal, but you know what? Let's go into the daily. It's just going to give us there's more data to play with. So I Let's zoom out. And now you can see that it looks a little bit better. Okay, so let's identify some horizontal levels. So let's start off with this area here. It's pretty decent for a horizontal. Again, these are zones for supply and demand. It's not a specific, I mean, you can move this up and down. You know, it's not too, you have to go too crazy with that. There's another horizontal here. And there's some smaller horizontals, like right here, you can argue one. But price is up here, so I'm not going to go too crazy with that. I'm going to try to find the next one up. It would be probably this consolidation area. I would say it would be a decent one. Okay, so we have that. Now I'm going to draw two Fibonacci's, one for the swing high to a ultimate swing low down here. It would be this one. So you can see that we're actually in this shorting section. This almost touched it. I wonder if we tweaked it a little bit. I don't like to force things, so yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Again, it's not going to be an exact touch. There's a lot of times where you're going to see an exact touch, but it doesn't really mean much. These are all just zones. It can go up, above, below. Don't go by the exact $41.34. It could be $42. It could be $40. It could be $39. But it's in the region. So between the 61.8 and the 786 on a downtrend of a Fibonacci is a typical shorting zone. So right now we're there. Let's see. RSI it's tailing off. So we have actually divergence. I wonder if it's divergence or divergence. I say divergence, but let me know what you say. If you say divergence or divergence, just trying to improve my skills here, my language. So we have a Fibonacci lower high, but we have a price higher high. So right there, that's a warning. So not only are we in a shorting zone, so let me draw this little box here. We're like in this little section here that's let me change this color so that way it's not deceiving. Let's just put it kind of clear, like a gray. So that area there is a typical shorting zone. Doesn't 100% mean it's going to happen. It's just normally what happens. It could consolidate here, but my guess is that it's going to go a little bit lower. So we have, what do we have so far? We have short location, typical short zone location. We have a divergence in the RSI and also in the stochastic. We just broke below the overbought region in the stochastic, and we also did the same in the RSI. I will be looking to see if we can basically break below that. And sorry for my little squiggly line there, but you get the idea, hopefully. If it breaks below there, then I would say it's a confirmed downtrend. But we're not there yet. I don't like to guess what's going to happen. All I know is that this trend line here on the RSI is going to give us some decent feedback. And this divergence is huge in my point of view. And we are on a daily, correct? Yes. So what else do we have? Where can we expect this to go? So the analyst expected a $45 target, meaning that he's looking at an extension of 1.272, which is, it's not a bad target. Let's change this up to, oops. Bear with me, everyone. I'm still getting the hang of all this video and charting while recording, so bear with me. So yeah, so 1.272 extension of that swing low to this swing high today. Gets us a price range, not a price range, I'm sorry, a target of $45, which is, it makes sense. I just don't like that we're in this short zone right now. I don't like the divergence there on both the RSI and on the stochastic. That for me is a big warning. So what options do we do? Okay, so you can have that as, if you're a bull and you believe in Tesla, that's a great target. I would take some, if you hold some Uber stock, I would unload. It's up to you if you want to unload all of it or take some partial profits there. Both are good ideas in my point of view. I would even honestly take some profit now because there's a lot of people that are thinking about shorting this. I guarantee you that. There's this explosive move up. We have to see what happens in the next couple days. So we have to see that. So let's draw a trend line to give us an idea of, because all these targets are just that, they're targets. What I like to do is draw trend lines because it gives me a better idea of where we may be heading, or when the actual trend is broken. So in my opinion, this is 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touches. This one broke through, but then it quickly recovered there. So some people would do this. It's not bad. I prefer this because it just tags more than one low. And it's a healthier trend line. Well, this would be a little bit healthier, but I'm going to go with this one just for this video. And I'm going to draw another one going from this swing low to this swing high. You can see that this one actually touches pretty well. This one low, 2 low, 3 lows. So this is much steeper, meaning that it's much more quick to break. It should. This has been going on since December 30th, and we're today February 7th. So it's a pretty strong bull run there. I mean, it's been a bull run since back here, but this uptrend is just strong. It's very strong. So what are we going to do? What I would be looking for is continuation as long as it doesn't break this. If it does break this trend line, I would expect a pullback to at least the 50% or the 382. Now, let me draw another Fibonacci, which would give us, assuming we don't have assuming we don't have another swing high. Let's assume that this is the ultimate high here. Let me switch this sucker here back to a regular Fibonacci. So the pullback would be, the healthy would be the 382. I'm not sure if I said that earlier. If I did, I made a mistake. I apologize. I think I did say the 382. But anyways, 382 to the 50 level. I think the 382 makes the most sense. It's always the first target. It's pretty obvious. But we have the 20 EMA just passed it. The 50 EMA is crawling on up there. So if we have a pullback, it's going to take a couple of days. Maybe in those couple of days, the 50 EMA actually, they converge. The 50 EMA with the 382, which is a $35 target. That's not a bad one. That makes a lot of sense in my point of view. So if you were thinking of, if you think that it's the bull run is coming to an end, and you're thinking about a short, or you're not touching shorts, you just want to buy in at a decent area, but you don't want to risk losing out on more potential gains, the 382 is a great target. I think it's a great. Basically, what I do is I try to layer in. If I'm bullish on a stock, and I see that this has happened, what I usually do is put a decent position on the 382, and then just layer my some people call it laddering. You're basically laddering orders. I guess layer. I come from a design background, so for me, layers make sense. Layers of light, layers in Photoshop, layers and just layers make sense. So anyways, I layer my orders in 382, sometimes at 50, sometimes I skip the 50 altogether and go to 618. The 702, I believe, is a midpoint between the 618 and the 786. and then the 786. And then if it does break below the 786, I usually have a stop loss just slightly below that. So maybe this would be my ultimate stop loss if I see that everything is just going against me. So that way I'm pretty well positioned. If it goes sour, then hey, you know what? Take your losses, and then you just move on. You could even put the 786 just below the 786, maybe like 5% below that as your stop loss. But I like to go more for a swing low here. So this would make more sense to me if I decided to go that route. So yeah, so if you're shorting, let's say that this is you're like, hey, look, divergence is there with the RSI and stochastic. We're at the shorting level of the Fibonacci. Excuse me. I'm going to do a short. So I would say that this would be a decent little short if you believe, and again, this is not financial advice. This is just some guy talking and just, just talking crap. This would be a pretty decent little trade in my point of view. I'm putting this stop above this horizontal. That's usually what I like to do. You can even go a little bit higher to like this to protect yourself. I like this one because you could tell that this horizontal was tested here. It acted as resistance there. You can go a little bit above that if you want to make even more short. Then you can go above this little tail here. If you're ultra, I think a lot of people would have got a conservative, I guess. You can go this up, this much higher, but then look how your risk reward goes down to. It goes down to a 1.2, which is not so good. For you to have a 2.1, you have to go at least to a 61.8, which sure enough gets us in at almost a 2-to-1. So if that's your goal, that would make a lot more sense. If you think that way, it gives you room to move. Personally, I am not a fan. Bear with me here. I'm sorry. Let me turn this off. So I would keep it a little tighter because just personally the way I am. But this actually wouldn't be a bad one right here. That would be a solid trade location there. Now, here would be something a little more in line with what I like to do, just to get some quicker profits. Not wait months for something. So this right here is a 2-to-1, 2.16 to 1. We're risking our profit target just above the 38.2, just a hair above it. 35, actually, oops. Well, give or take. And then this could just be here or just above that. I mean, typically if it breaks above this horizontal, it's going to be testing. So yeah, I would go up here to an exact 2-to-1. So this would be a hypothetical trade short. You don't have to do the short. You can actually just wait if you believe it's going to go down and just load up at 382 or lower at the 618 here. It's very likely. It happens all the time. Let me draw another trend line here on the stochastic on the daily and see if we can see that we just broke below this trend line here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. So I'm leaning towards this stock rolling over, but there's no guarantees, no guarantees whatsoever. If you're long and you think that the stock is going to go to that $45 target, what would Tony do? I would do something like this. So let's say that you're like, I'm going in right now. I would preferably wait for a small pullback here. But let's say you want to go crazy and you want to go there. Where is that target again? It was that $45, which is that 1.2 extension, which is at 45.12, I believe. So give or take there. And then you risk down to, this is why I don't like this trade, because the target would be, for you to have a 2-to-1, you're basically saying, hey, this stock is not going to dip below this trend line at all. So I just don't like it. Personally, I don't like it. I don't believe that it's, well, beliefs are nothing in the stock market. In the financial markets, you can believe all you want. Doesn't mean jack. It just means that you shouldn't believe anything. You should look at the charts. You should look at the fundamentals. You should and then you should just trade accordingly. Have a solid plan. Stick to the plan, and if it works, it works. But this would be the long trade here. I guess I would try to go lower than these little tails here, which brings it just below, and then preferably just below this this trend line here. But again, we're closer here, so I wouldn't recommend a long at this point. I really wouldn't. But if you were inclined to do a long, this would be something, I guess maybe just below the 61.8 to protect yourself a little bit. But it's such a quick, I mean, just a quick wick stops you out. It's just, to me, it doesn't really make sense. But hey, if that's what you want to do, there's no one that's going to stop you. You should consult a financial advisor, make sure that you're in the right position, that your portfolio is set up correctly, that you get the right guidance. Don't trust people on YouTube. Don't trust me. Just do your own thing, do your own research, consult a professional. I'm just giving you a breakdown of what I see on the charts. So another thing that doesn't give me too much confidence in Uber is, yeah, sure, it's had a lot of no real negatives from the analysts, but if we look at the insider trading, there has not been a buy in forever. So since November 2008, we've had people, well, I stand corrected, there was one buy. That's weird, I don't see it here on my screen. But there's been a few buys, 2 buys to be correct. There was one by a director, which was for 35,000 shares. Yeah, so a position just under $1 million, which is nice. It's followed by a bunch of directors, and I believe this Travis Kalanick, I believe he was the original CEO. He's been selling like crazy, which kind of makes sense. But we have other people like there's another gentleman called Camp Garrett. He's been selling a ton. Actually 170,000. Then he was following 170. So he's unloading in batches of 170, spread out through a couple days. And then one more buy from someone called Dara, I believe, yeah, the CEO, which makes sense because, come on, you're the CEO, and if you're not buying, it's not a good sign. But you know what? The guy might be a trader because he bought at 26.75. So 26.75 is near the bottom. So this guy's a stud trader. Well, he's got some inside info, So that was the last buy. Everything. This was November 18th. So ever since November 18th, we've had. I'm not even going to count this because this is like a ton of. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've had at least, I would say, 30 sales. I mean, that's crazy. And they're all from directors, chief product officer, chief technology officer, directors, chief technology officer. And these are not small positions. These are 177 million, 150 million, 235 million. Recently, the last sales are from the same guy, Camp Garrett, Garrett Camp, sorry, for the same amount. So this guy is a machine. He has this automated, most likely, at 170,000 shares each time he unloads. He unloads in periods of 3 days. So January 7th, 8th, 9th, 170, 170,000, 170,000, which each position is it's almost a $6 million payday each time he sells $170,000. He did another 4 days, the 21, 20, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Skips to the 24th. I mean to the 4th of February, and then another 2, the 5th and the 6th. So That's a lot of sales. So not a lot of vote of confidence in this company. So maybe maybe they're seeing that it's a little toppy. Maybe they're seeing something that they're not disclosing. Um, Uber's a tricky one. Uber has a lot of it's probably the biggest name. I mean, besides Uber, what do you think? You think Lyft, but I mean, it's become it's just it's when somebody says search the internet, most people say, hey, Google that. It's the same thing. You don't call it taxi, you Uber. Hey, let's just Uber here. Let's Uber there. So it's got a name for it, which is huge. Branding is huge. I mean, if it's not everything, but it's number two in my point of view. And they got into the market of meal preparation and delivery, which is I use it. Um, a lot of other things like core platforms and other bets. They're into a lot of stuff. So there's some potential upside here. I just technically, if we're looking at this chart, it just doesn't look it looks toppy, to be honest with you. There's no guarantees. I mean, the stock market can keep pushing, and then it just keeps, driving this. There's no real guarantees at all. So, but what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing it being a little bit toppy. I'm going to try to draw a couple ABCDs and see if by chance something kind of clicks. So let me draw an ABCD from here to here and try to clone that and just draw it. And then sure enough, so this ABCD is super interesting because it actually hits this horizontal. So it's very likely that we might see an upside up to $43. 43 and change, 43.25, give or take, before we see that pullback, which would make sense because if we extend this trend line to where it breaks here, that time frame gives us enough room to go up to this horizontal. So I see that happening. I can see that being a big thing right there. We hit that $43 range and change, and then see a rollback. So I think that that's most likely what's going to happen. There's no guarantees, but hopefully this helps. It's a new stock, relatively new stock, less than a year old. So technically there's not that much information, but I think with the data that we have, it should be enough to give us some decent, hopefully I'm not too far off. And if I am, then hey, it is what it is. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see me talking more about top gainers or anything else, just let me know. If you have any feedback, please let me know. I know that I'm not in the media industry. I'm not a TV personality, obviously. I mean, I'm just, I'm doing this more to just actually put live what I do. I do this every day. So I'm just putting it on paper, on video, so that way not only I am accountable to my own analysis, but I'm always constantly learning, and your feedback's going to help me grow, and hopefully you learn something too. If there's anything that I'm doing that is not clear to you that you think may help you, if I clarify, let me know. I'll try to. I mean, there's plenty of courses and whatnot. I myself took a course. I've taken I've read up like crazy. I feel like I've done a bunch of stuff, but an actual structured course that I took was The Rational Investor. I believe it's therationalinvestor.com. It's pretty good. They introduce you to a lot of tools. It's a great community. I recommend it if you really want to get into technical analysis. And what I'm doing here is just bare bones, simplistic, minimal. They go into much more tools. It's just you pick the tools that you like and you kind of you go with it. But I like to keep things pretty simple and not go insane. You can go crazy with charts and you can have Gann drawn up and you can have all these Gann lines and Gann fans and circles and go crazy with pi. And a lot of it does make sense. But if you break it down to the simplistics, it really just keep it simple, stupid. It really comes down to that. It's not rocket science. You just got to build your confidence, and once your confidence is there, then just you go with it. But those classes aren't cheap. They're a little expensive. There's a lot of free information that's available on YouTube here. I've learned a lot here. It's taken me years to learn some of this stuff. So I'm kind of just rolling with what I have. And if there's anything that I can make clear for you guys, let me know. Send me some feedback. And if you like this video, subscribe if you can. I'd appreciate that. And have a good one. Great weekend. Bye-bye.